Hello guys, so this is where we left off in the other episode. So we have our snowflakes dropping, but they're going straight through the floor. So what we want is to set the floor and the trees and the snowman and the sticks and stuff all to colliders so that they'll collect on them and it'll look nice. So we want the collider settings to just be all the default settings except for this one value, the stickiness. We want this to be 10, that's the maximum amount, because otherwise they'll bounce off your surface and we really don't want that. Snowflakes do not bounce. So we'll just have to do this for every single one of them. Okay, so we're done now. We can go back to the emitter settings, particle settings, and we will rebake this. So delete bake and rebake the entire thing. It'll take a lot longer now if you've got a slower computer because it has to calculate all the collisions as well and rather than just falling straight down. So just bear with it and we can save this and go to about frame 60. That's normally where they've finished falling, and we can just see them all fall through the sky and land gently on the ground. Very nice. Oh, you can see this one here bounces if you watch it. Boing. We don't want that, so what we're going to do is we're going to set, because sorry, we have to rebake it again. So if you go into physics, we want the mass to be really small because they're only snowflakes, so just type in a really low value. That's pretty good. And now we can rebake this entire thing, and it'll be a lot faster this time because they're not ridiculously heavy, and so they don't have to calculate bounces and things like that. And we're going to be starting the simulation from frame 60 or about wherever the particles hit the ground. So they start hitting the ground here. Oh, some of them are still bouncing. It's okay though. Most of them aren't. We'll just go back to frame 60. This is about where we're going to start. And now that we've baked it all in, make sure that you do this after you've baked it. We can go set the stream start to 60. Because otherwise it doesn't bake the entire simulation. Go to camera view, check that everything's alright. Okay, it's all looking pretty good. Let's just check that all the particles settings and stuff are going well, so let's hit spacebar to play the animation. Oh, they're falling way too fast. Let's just go back to the emitter and we'll change some settings. So go down to the field weights and set the gravity to something like 0.01 maybe. We'll see how that does. Actually 0.01. That's pretty good. And then we can delete this bake and we'll set the normal to 0 meters per second because otherwise all the particles will like go up here because the gravity is so low rather than falling. Because that's the way that the normal of the face is pointing. So we'll set the normal to 0, and we should also set all of these to all of the colliders to have more friction, because if you play the animation you can see that some of them like slide across the floor because there's absolutely zero friction. Because if you go to the snow collider you can see friction is at complete 0, so turn that up all the way to 1 and it should work if we select snow and control select snowman, tree, all the trees, shift control select all the trees, boom, and then if you hold alt and then set friction to 1, with any luck Oh no, it didn't work. Oh, Tweed 006 doesn't have any collision because we added that afterwards. So we'll set the stickiness to 10. And it's the closest up as well, so it's probably best. Friction to 1. Yeah, all of these have friction to 1 now already. And now we can go back to the emitter, go to power settings and bake it in again. And we'll probably need to change the start and end frame because they'll be falling a lot slower. So we'll probably need to go for a longer simulation, we'll see. Yeah, see at 145 they're not even close. Let's see how they are at 200. Oh yeah, not even close at all. Let's see. Delete the bake so you can change the settings, and we'll set the frame start. Yeah, keep it 1. And the ends, not 350. Oh, 350. I must have changed it sometime. 350 for end, and it'll keep going until frame 350. Let's see where it's at frame 350. Oh, that's such a hard line. We probably want about double that and then 100 frames extra, so we'll say we'll set the frame end to like 750 and set the lifetime to 750 as well. Set this end frame to 750. And I reckon that they'll actually touch the ground at about frame 650, but we'll see anyway. Alright, all done. So this will increase your bake time, but it will improve the look of your simulation. So let's skip to frame 500. Have they started hitting the ground yet? I think that's good enough. We'll scrub through, see if we can get away with anything better than that. Yeah, they hit the ground right about there. So 500, that's when our start frame will be. Set it to 500. And go to camera view again. And we'll see how this looks. Ah, that's a lot more peaceful with the snowflakes gently resting themselves on the ground instead. And then we'll have 150 frames. We'll set this back to... Oh no, might as well have 150. Keep playing and just watch our simulation go by. Looking nice. Okay then. And then we can set the same and rendering to cycles, and we'll do GPU compute to make sure you're using your GPU, because otherwise it could take a lot longer. I'll set my max samples to 10 for the viewport, no denoising, and 32 for the render, and it's going to denoise as well, just because I want it to be quick and easy and fast. It depends really on how powerful your computer is, how many samples you want, or well, how long you want to wait for. We don't need many light paths, so just set your transmission. We don't have any of that, but a good value is 8. And then diffuse. Glossy will have 4. Diffuse only needs about 2. And we'll set the total to the maximum, which is 8. And that shouldn't take too long. Performance, if you're using cycles, it will look okay in Eevee, but just won't have the shadows on the ground. Because if I check out this here, you can see that Cycles has the shadows on the ground, whereas Eevee does not. So that's a very sad thing Eevee should have. It's annoying. Anyway, it doesn't. So if you want it, you're going to have to use Cycles. And we're not going to change any of we're not like animating all of the textures, so we can tick persistent data. And if you're using Cycles, then mostly use Curves BVH because it uses more RAM but renders faster. And unless you have a tiny amount of RAM, most of the time it will work perfectly fine. So that's pretty good. And make sure to set your color management, set the look to high contrast, because it doesn't look very good if you don't. It just adds a lot of spice to the scene, so much more contrast. set your output folder to whatever you like. I'm just going to set it to my D drive Blender, accept that. And Cycles has never crashed on me, and this is a very easy scene, so we'll set the file format to FFmpeg video, and we'll set the encoding to MPEG-4, which is MP4, and output quality of perceptually lossless. And that's most of our render settings done. Just before you render it, you might want to check if you've missed anything, because otherwise you could be in trouble. But just make sure to set your start and end frame to 60 and 200, and we'll be rendering that many frames. So this is the end of the tutorial. Just hit the render button and it'll render to your output folder. And by the way, you can hit the render button up here, render animation, Control F12, or you can just hit Control F12 on your video. But see you guys, and have fun with this. Experiment if you want. You could, for example, change the particles on each of these trees to get different baubles, and experiment with the snowflakes. Maybe turn up the stickiness so that it doesn't bounce that much, or anything. Comment below if you have any tips for me, but see you in the next one. Bye guys.